Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the WaxMode detailing channel. In today's video I have two Carnauba based paste waxes that I'm going to be putting up against the Dawn Ultra dishwashing soap strip test. And the waxes I'm working with are the Griot's Garage Premium Carnauba Paste Wax as well as their Best of Show Paste Wax. So I'm going to test to see how Dawn Ultra does in the short term with these two waxes. They were applied 3 days ago on one of my test panels. I've also been running a 2.5 month durability test on the Blue Honda. So we're going to test to see how Dawn Ultra does in the long term with waxes that have been sitting on the paint for an extended amount of time. So let's go ahead and jump into the short-term test. What I've done is 3 days ago I've prepped the test hood using the Boss Perfecting Cream. This is a light finishing polish from Griot's Garage. On the right side of the hood I have the Best of Show Paste Wax, and on the left side of the hood I have the Premium Carnauba Paste Wax. But on the very edges of the test panel here, what I've done is I've left these areas without any wax applied on top. So these are going to be my control sections for this test. We're going to see that distinct difference in the water behavior right away. So if Dawn Ultra is going to be stripping anything from the paint, we should have an equal water behavior across all sections. And prior to applying the wax, what I've done is I've used CarPro Eraser, which is an oil and polish cleaner. This is going to help remove any polishing oils that might be left behind from the Boss Perfecting Cream. Now this first rinse is going to be my baseline water result for how these two waxes behave at their maximum performance. And they're both very aggressive with water in the short term. They produce some nice tight beading. When you flood the paint panel, the water is going to be sheeting off the paint at a faster rate. And one of the main reasons I'm doing this test here is I perform and I cycle a bunch of different short-term wax tests. So I really need a product that's going to be able to remove the wax from the surface of the paint without me needing to pull out the polisher and grab an abrasive polish like the Boss Perfecting Cream or the Meguiar's M205. Now every time I do this, this is going to shave off just a very small amount of clear coat with an abrasive finishing polish. And with as many waxes and sealants and coatings that I test, this will add up over time and I will start to remove a significant amount of clear coat. So whether or not Dawn Ultra is an effective wax and sealant stripper is going to be very relevant for the type of short-term testing that I'm performing. And in this test I also have the 3 times more Dawn Ultra formula. The dilution ratio I'm working with here is 1 ounce of soap mixed in with 1 gallon of water, and that gallon is measured inside of a gallon-sized jug. Alright, this is wash and rinse number 1. And if you guys haven't already seen my first initial test review of Dawn Ultra up against the Rejects Paint Sealant and the Finish Care High Temp Paste Wax, go ahead and check in the description. I'll have a link set for that video. And your paint sealants are going to have a much stronger hold or bond to the paint compared to your regular Carnauba based waxes, especially the high temp paste wax. This is a very durable and popular paint sealant on the market. But you can see after the first wash and rinse here, both the Premium Carnauba Paste Wax and the Best of Show Paste Wax have held up extremely well after going over the paint with Dawn Ultra. You can see though on the very edges of the panel here, I am seeing a very slower sheet of water form compared to that first rinse that I showed, which was my baseline water result. So unprotected paint does not have a durable surface tension. It's going to be much more impacted after that first wash and rinse compared to any surface that has a wax or a sealant on it. Alright, this is wash and rinse number 10. And what I'm going to do now is start to increase the temperature of the water. I'm going to get it to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll see if that's going to be able to boost the performance of Dawn Ultra to see if it's going to strip the wax at a higher temperature. Okay, the water's sitting at just under 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This is as hot as I can get it from inside of the house out of the tap. And I'm still working with the same dilution ratio of 1 ounce per 1 gallon of water. And we're still not anywhere near the level of having the wax stripped from the paint. So I'll continue to wash the paint using the higher temperature water. Alright, this is wash and rinse number 21. So I've done 10 washes with the normal temperature coming straight out of the hose. Then I did an additional 10 washes with the highest temperature that I can get coming out of the tap water. And in this wash here, I've dumped Dawn Ultra undiluted onto the paint and went over it heavily with the wash mitt. So you're either going to have to use a very high dilution ratio or a very large amount of individual washes and rinses before you even start to see a noticeable decrease in just the surface tension of the wax. So my takeaway from this test is that Dawn Ultra is not going to be an effective prepping product to try and remove at least these two waxes from the paint. And that of course is in the short term. So what I'll do now is go ahead and show you guys how Dawn impacts these two waxes after 2.5 months. Hey guys, this is a 2.5-month update for the Griot's Garage Premium Carnauba Paste Wax on the left side of the door here, and on the right side the Griot's Garage Best of Show Paste Wax. This is now the third time that I've washed the paint. I've only been washing it with Meguiar's Hyper Wash. There's no detailer sprays or spray waxes applied on top of it. No drying aids. And you can see on both sides we still have a fairly decent sheeting rate. So the water is falling off the paint at a faster rate than it would be if I had no wax on the surface at all. And so this has endured basically daily rainstorms, multiple thunderstorms as well, high heat, high humidity here in Florida. On the rear door here is my control section. I have no wax applied to the paint at all. This was prepped at the same time that I did the front door, so this is my control section as a 2.5-month durability test with no wax on it. And you can see that strong difference in the performance between the side that does have the wax compared to the control section with no wax. So now I'm going to do the Dawn dishwashing soap test to see how it behaves on older wax. Okay, so the previous wash was using Meguiar's Hyper Wash, which is a pH neutral soap, and I want to see that difference between how the wax behaved after using Hyper Wash compared to Dawn Ultra here at the 1 ounce per 1 gallon dilution ratio. Now when I'm polishing the paint, there's a couple prerequisites that I go through. Number one, the paint has to be washed and clean. Number two, it has to be clayed to remove that top level embedded contamination that doesn't come out during a regular wash. Once I've done these steps, now I'm ready to actually go out and grab the polisher and polish the paint with an abrasive polisher compound. However, the wax sticks to the paint at the nanometer level. That layer of wax sitting on top of the surface is extremely thin. And this is why it's not necessary for me to fully remove the wax prior to me claying the paint and prior to me polishing the paint. The abrasives in the polish, even a very light finishing polish, is going to easily break the bond to the paint and fully remove that wax from the surface. Now what I'm seeing here is that the premium paste wax side is held up much better than the best of show wax side. We still have not achieved anywhere near full removal, so both sides have sections of the wax that have held up extremely well. And if I can't be easily convinced of Dawn's ability to fully strip wax from the paint, then I'm not going to use the soap as a pre-wax prepping product, especially if I've already made the decision that I'm going to be polishing the paint anyways with an abrasive polish. Okay, this is wash and rinse number 10. And one of the topics that came up is, of course these soaps aren't going to work on products that are fresh, so you're going to have to use them on products that are much older and have been weathered by the elements outside, and this is when they're going to be much more effective in actually removing them from the surface. So now we have to start thinking about how much time has to go by before the waxes are weathered enough for these soaps to actually strip them from the surface. And so if your goal is to skip the claying and polishing step before you apply a new fresh wax or a fresh sealant on top of the surface, this gives the paint more time to accumulate all that embedded contamination that will not come off during a regular wash. So let's say I waited 4 months before I tried to use Dawn dishwashing soap before it actually fully removed the wax from the surface. Now I've got 4 months of potential contamination that I'm going to have to go over with the clay bar anyways to get off from the paint. And on this specific test car, the paint is so soft that anytime I use a clay bar, I'm going to have to go over it with the polisher and a light finishing polish to remove the marring that's left behind by the claying process. And so it doesn't do myself any good for these products to not work in the short term to be able to effectively remove the wax or sealant from the paint. If we require that long-term weathering of the surface before these products can work, then that limitation fully removes the usefulness of these strip wax products. So will Dawn Ultra remove your wax from the paint? That's obviously going to depend on the type of wax you're working with and how long it's been sitting on the paint. But here's 2 Griot's Garage Carnauba waxes here where Dawn has not been able to fully remove them from the paint. You might also get different results. I don't have any problem conceding the point that Dawn Ultra is going to have more of an impact on your wax compared to using a pH neutral soap over time if you use Dawn Ultra as your primary soap. And as I said in the first video, if all you want to do is test new waxes and sealants, you can go ahead and apply many products on top of each other. You will get the best results if you apply these waxes and sealants on top of polished and prepped paint. However, Dawn Ultra is not going to be an effective product for me to prep the paint prior to applying the waxes and sealants and coatings that I test. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this test. If you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to as many as I can. And stay tuned for more product testing and reviews coming up in the future.